So the Birmingham bin strike continues. Oops, that's not the Birmingham bin strike. That's the London bin strike in 1979. That was just before they booted out the Labour government and Mrs Thatcher came in. But that's completely different. This is the Birmingham 2005 one. That's too big. Just a minute. That's better. That's the Birmingham thing. As you see, it's a completely different situation. I'll find you another picture of the Birmingham bin strike. What's this? Here we are. Oops, no, that's not the Birmingham bin strike in 2005. That's the Glasgow bin strike in, I think that might have been 1975. However, sometime in the past, but as you see, completely different from today. This is the Birmingham bin strike today. There we are, you see, completely different. Right, well, there you are. You see, we are in a completely different world now, aren't we? We have a Labour government and bin strikes, but this is a different sort of bin strike, isn't it? I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble and Minds, and if you're not in the UK, I'm on BitChute. If you are in the UK and have a VPN, I'm on BitChute. And just to show you how different things are, this is a list of the various unions who intend to or are in the process of planning strikes over the next few months. One or two of them are actually on strike. They say, generally speaking, the reason they're planning these things is there's problems with pay, working conditions and job security. As if job security is even possible now, especially with the restrictive rules, higher taxes and employee rights brought in by our new government, which I have to remind you is still less than a year old. Plenty of time to completely wreck the rest of the country. So here we have the National Education Union, which is England's largest teachers' union, and 98% of its members aren't happy with the proposed 2.8% pay rise, and somewhat just under 84% are already saying they want to go on strike. Then there's Unite, here we are, which has a membership from people all over the place. For instance, in manufacturing, construction, transport, healthcare, hospitality, local government. In other words, a membership that could paralyse the country if they're all out together. And since they're all members of Unite, that's entirely possible. And this includes the Birmingham bin workers. They're in Unite and they've been striking since March the 11th in protest at pay cuts and what they describe as job role changes. Job role changes is to do with merging duties, and the pay cuts are because Birmingham is pretty well bankrupt. It just doesn't have the money. I wonder if this might be something to do with their present predicament. This is from the Mail and it's December 2020. Yeah. Birmingham City Council has been accused of virtue signalling after it gave 6 new streets woke names. You see, every Destiny Road, Equality Road, Humanity Close, Inspire Avenue, Respect Way and Diversity Grove. They had money to spend on that. But obviously that started running them somewhat low when the bin workers wanted a rise. And that, as I said, was in 2020. I did make a video about that, actually. Anyway, Unite is supporting the bin collectors and threatening to involve bin collectors in other towns. So, whoopee, if you're not in Birmingham, You've got something to look forward to, haven't you? Other members of Unite are the NHS workers, which is nurses, cleaners and porters, who are striking in some places already over pay, staffing levels and promised bonuses, which are not being paid. There are also Unite workers in a few city councils who aren't happy with pay and conditions, as are members of another union, the GMB, which is the General and Municipal Workers Union. Where did that B come from? I have no idea. It started out in the 19th century as the Gas Workers and General Union. So I can see the G there. I don't know what that B stands for, though. Anyway, maybe somebody couldn't spell. I'm sure anyone who might be watching this who is a member of the GMB, let me know in the comments what the B stands for. Anyway, the GMB have a spread similar to Unite, and they're in dispute with a couple of city councils, as well as the Food Deliverers Union. If they go on strike, that's going to be fun, isn't it? And they're even having a spat with Asda, one of the biggest supermarket chains in the country. So I think we've found the answer here, you see, because if you can't get any food either delivered to Asda or from Asda, then there's going to be a lot less rubbish. Might be a few dead bodies hanging around, but hey, you can't win it both ways, can you? Other unions talking about strikes are ASLEF, which is the Associated Society of Locomotive Engineers and Firemen. Well, that means people won't get to work, doesn't it? And then this time it's the train drivers. They rejected a 4.5% pay rise offer in March. And then Hull Trains, they're already on strike, so that's all right then. And then the RMT, which is the National Union of Rail, Maritime and Transport Workers. They called off a strike recently on receipt of a pay rise. You know, I mean, when the government came in, they gave a whole lot of people pay rises, as a sort of bribe, without realising that when you pay to a blackmailer, that doesn't stop the blackmailer coming back for more, does it? Anyway, the RMT are still in negotiations on their latest drive or non-drive for more money. And then there's the PCS, which is the Public and Commercial Services Union, and they have a lot of white-collar workers employed in the Ministry of Housing, local government. They're unhappy with rules insisting that they come into work. And some offices are being closed, which means jobs are going, and they reckon they're not being promoted quickly enough. Of course, all this union muscle flexing will have arisen from Angela Rayner's ditching of a lot of the union controls which over the years successive governments, Conservative governments rather, have introduced. You see, when the Labour Party came in, they were going to be all gung-ho for the worker, or the non-worker, in fact. And Angela Rayner ditched a lot of things that stopped strikes, for some sort of balloting rules, that sort of thing, that meant that strikes couldn't be called so easily. And of course, I don't suppose her thoroughly student-level employment rights bill, which gives you the right to, holidays and benefits within a week of being employed. It's something like that. I don't remember. At first, it was from the first day, but that got changed and I haven't kept up with that. But it's pretty quick anyway. Anyway, I don't think her employment rights bill has helped, because it's made a lot of businesses a lot more careful about expanding and employing more people, because they don't want to be saddled with a lot of people that they've employed and who turn out to be, well, basically con artists. And all of this has probably given the unions impetus to think that they rule the country now, which is what they were doing in the 1970s, with hilarious results. And then, of course, there are Ed Miliband's suicidal net zero ideas that would reduce jobs as well as reducing the ability of businesses to increase wages or to expand. In the 1970s, a Labour government found itself in thrall to the combined forces of the labour unions, and the country shut down. It was an international laughingstock. I was in America at the time. I could see from afar what people were saying. The point was, though, that the country could come out of that. When the Labour government got ditched and Thatcher's Conservatives came in with their more strident ideas, the country could recover because it had some capital from its previous empire. There was still some family silver to sell. There were still industries here. And the country, divided as it was in the sphere of work, was not divided culturally. We hadn't lost confidence in the cohesion of the British people, and there were still pubs to go to chat in and to make common cause. There's, oh gosh, I've lost it now. Just a minute, I'm going to find it again. Okay, I found it. This isn't the article that I remember, but this is pretty much saying the same thing. And there's a pub quite close to me that looked like this for a long time. I'm still waiting for it to be, I don't know what, bulldozed and turned into flats. It says here, over the last 20 years, approximately 44,000 pubs, restaurants and bars within hotels have permanently pulled down their shutters. Well, some of the things are inevitable. For instance, if a pub is outside of town and you can get there only by car, of course, driving laws would put the kibosh on that. But even local bars are going, some of it again. People staying home to watch Netflix instead of going to the pub. But there are other things. And for instance, there's this here. And this is a Conservative piece of legislation. A new law lets staff sue their boss if customers offend them. Rishi Sunak is facing a Tory revolt over draconian laws that will allow shop assistants, bar staff and doctors to sue their employers if a member of the public offends them at work. What do you think of that? And of course, why take the risk? You can sell the property for millions to a development company and just sit back, in Marbella or the Maldives or whatever, and live off your money instead of dealing with with this sort of nonsense. A Whitehall source said ministers were sleepwalking into a big expansion of the Labour-era Equality Act, which Mr Sunak had previously blamed for enabling woke nonsense to permeate public life. Yeah, well, so it's the Conservatives as well. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. People aren't associating anymore because the places of association are going. And they're not going to church either. Look, when Thatcher took over, there was something to work with. As I said, people had the feeling of cohesion in society. There were still resources in the country to bounce back. Today, well, do we have a Thatcher waiting in the wings even to start with? I had hopes it would be Farage, but he seems to change his mind rather a lot, doesn't he? And give way rather a lot. Perhaps the combination of Badenoch and Jenrick, but even if they succeed in changing the direction of the Conservatives, who's going to believe them after the betrayal of their 14 years in office? And even if we believe them, what will they have left to work with? OK. If you can think of anything, let me know. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing. and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.